live. Hi, everyone. I'm going to give everyone a minute to join. Okay. Let us know if you're watching, and if you are, where you're watching from. I'm calling from Hoboken, New Jersey. I was just telling Stephanie I'm in my niece's room because this is the reality of not yet having a co-working space. And Stephanie is also in Hoboken, right, Stephanie? That's where you're calling from?
I am in Hoboken today.
So we're both there. We're really excited to chat with you. We tried to host this call earlier this week, but we were having technical issues. So we're really excited to jump on here and talk about that moment of feeling over your job and then really how to move past that. So again, I'm going to give everyone a minute to join. Let us know if you're watching. Give us a like. Let us know where you're watching from. To give some quick background on Stephanie, so Stephanie Domanski is a Work Bigger member, and she graduated from the fall program in, when did we wrap that up? November of 2017. And now she's working one-on-one with one of our Work Bigger coaches, Lisa Lewis. So Stephanie and I last week were chatting about Work Bigger and everything that she's been through in the program, and now the one-on-one work, and really where she is with her career transition. And as we were speaking, a lot of different things started to transpire, and we started talking about interests and really what happens when you pursue your interests, really what could come out of that. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper on that today. But if you're watching, we'd also love to hear from you. What prompted you to join this call? And when we share things like, I feel over my job, or I feel really frustrated, what that brings up for you. So again, let us know your thoughts, what prompted you to join. If anything's got you feeling stuck, let's take this opportunity to talk about it, ask this question so we could answer them live. But yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today, really that feeling of over your job and then what you can do to move past it. So I'm going to pause right there, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself, and then we can go from there.
Great. Thank you, Belma. As you mentioned, my name is Stephanie Domanski. I'm probably on the outer layer of the spectrum of the group you're actually targeting, Belma, but I think that's what's really important. I'm coming on, I can't believe this is actually the number, my end of my 16th year of working, and my career has spanned many industries. I started out as an auditor with KPMG in New York City. I went to private equity in Washington, D.C. I went to a private government organization in Knoxville, Tennessee. Then I moved back to private equity in Chicago, moved back to D.C. to do turnarounds and distressed investments, took a hiatus for a year, and then came back to the New Jersey area where I've been working as a project manager in different technology-based projects. So that's sort of where my career progressed. But as I pieced it all together, as I went through the Work Bigger program, what I found is at the core, what I didn't understand is I essentially always solve problems. So that's what I've been doing for 16 years. I've been taking on the projects and the problems that quite literally no one else wants to do.
I love that you said that. One thing I pulled from your LinkedIn profile, and I don't remember so much if we talked about this in the program, and I feel like maybe we did, but you wrote that you're an expert on executing on the impossible tasks that others shy away from. And I think that's really powerful. Can you speak a little bit more about what that looks like for you?
Sure. So in my current role, October 2017, a group was tasked to help do a software migration at the current company I'm with. It had no framework. We didn't know what the product looked like. There was no process. It was legitimately 12 people going, I don't know, what does this look like? How does this work? Mm-hmm. We did one or two. We figured out a few pieces of information, and then we continued to move on. Once we realized that it was going to take conservatively 2 years to execute on this project, everyone was like, this isn't my job. This isn't what I want to do. This is really hard. We don't actually even know what the product looks like. And while we're doing each one of these migrations, we're finding out new things and we've got to solve problems. And then this group needs to get involved and I need to understand the bigger picture. And it just takes too much time. I don't want to do it. They were like, do you want to do it? I was like, sure, why not? I can do it. Yeah. And that's how I moved from a client-facing role to an internal role where I manage a disparate group of individuals, so engineers, client services, the client themselves, to ensure that this project gets done, but it also gets done in a timely manner and to the client's satisfaction, which 264 clients, there's 264 ways to do different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It sounds like a lot, so I want to change a little bit of direction now because I feel like, I want to talk a little bit about the Work Bigger program and some of the things that you and I worked through and that you worked through with your coach too in the Work Bigger program. And then now one-on-one, can you speak a little bit to your experience and how you came about to joining Work Bigger?
So I actually found out about Work Bigger and Belma specifically through my acupuncturist, who I think you guys went to college together.
Yes.
And she said, you should talk to Belma. She's kicking off this project. And I think she does WebEx. So you should just see if she has one and join it. And I'm pretty sure this was like late 2016 or very early 2017. We were hosting this WebEx about your career and understanding trends within your career and becoming much more aware of like underlying things that are driving you and causing you to make decisions. And it was a very simple concept. I think it may have been an hour. And you said, let's make timelines, put 0 on one end, 100 on the other. Write down where you are and what happened in, all your dashes between birth and where you are right now. Mm-hmm. And we did that. And I'm like, okay, that's great. This is everything I've done. And then you said, now write things like how you felt or other events that happened during them. And I got to the end of it and it, like even now, like I'm getting like choked up thinking about it. I was like, oh my God, my career is killing me. I was like, this is the point I thought I was having a heart attack. This is the part I thought I had an ulcer. This is the part where I had complete burnout and I had to quit my job. This is where like mentally I was like checked out. And I looked and I was like, everywhere where I had a major career shift or opportunity, it was usually a driver because I was so physically ill. Mm. And then there were things like, during that time frame, I decided to pursue becoming a 200-hour certified yoga teacher. And that, along with extreme burnout, prompted me to travel the world by myself. And during that time frame, I was never sick. I was actually having a lot of fun and I was meeting a ton of people. And then I came back to the New Jersey area and all of a sudden my health started to deteriorate again. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so smart at solving problems. What the hell am I doing? Like, why am I not getting that this is my picture? This is my problem that I have to solve. So your timeline kind of like, it was on paper. I couldn't run from it anymore. It was there. Like, look at all the decisions and look at the cause and effect. Mm-hmm. So I thought I was going to join the spring cohort of 2017. Belma, you put me in touch with some really great women. I got to talk about their experience and I was so motivated by it, but then I did have the normal hesitations. The project I talked about in the beginning was really picking up in earnest and it was taking a lot of my time. Mm-hmm. I did have reluctance to put forth that much resource into myself to say that, this is real dollars, but this is what it could do for me. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't. I asked Belma if I could postpone it and graciously you did. You let me. And I went through from spring and summer. And then the fall cohort was coming up and things really started progressing again in my career, but not in positive ways. I was running into real roadblocks where I was doing such great work and the work that I know I can do and that I'm really qualified to do and I really shine in these problem solving arenas. And so before the fall cohort started, Belma again graciously said, okay, well, let's do some real-time work now before the program starts and I'll help you. Let's talk about negotiation. So I was like, perfect. We did all this work together. I was really prepared. I walked in, did my spiel. My company looked at me and said, yeah, no, that's not happening. And I was like, what? That's not the way this is supposed to go. Like, we talked about this. I'm so prepared. I've been the most prepared to defend and support myself and to create or to acknowledge the value that I had built over 16 years. And then someone looked at me and said, no. And that's when I thought, the hell have I been doing? I, again, had done all these great things. I got myself into this position where I had allowed someone else to say to me that they didn't value me. And I thought, well, I could either stay here and continue to allow you to have that perspective of me, or I could start to value myself more. And I joined the fall cohort and I went through Work Bigger because it really, that was like the moment where I was like, I need to stop discounting myself. Like, if I can give my time and my resources to someone else, I can give my hard-earned money and time and effort to myself. And that's what I did. I joined the fall cohort, and full disclosure, Belma knows, I did not make it through all of it. I made it to like week 6, I think. And I mean, I looked at everything, but like I did not keep up with the rest of the women in the group because, again, it was really time for me to become honest with myself, and all of that work, I needed more. Like, I needed to go deeper, and I needed to slow down the process for myself. And I needed to really dig deep and go through some of the layers, like stripping away the layers that I had built up over my entire career and in my personal life. And I needed to start being honest with myself. And it doesn't mean that the Work Bigger program went away from me. It just meant that I decided to move in a much slower pace at that point. Mm-hmm. And it had been great because not even the women in my cohort, which were amazing, even women from your first one, we're still supporting each other and we're still working through things. We have an accountability call with 4 of us every month we meet. So it wasn't that I stopped and I wasn't progressing. It's just I needed a little bit more support and a little bit more time.
Yeah.
And then in 2018, I reached out to Belma after a different conversation or a WebEx you had done with Lisa that really resonated with me. And I said, could Lisa help me? Mm-hmm. And that's where we are today.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I'm like taking notes as you're speaking because a lot is coming up for me that I think is important to unpack for the community. First, I really love what you said about going into your company's office prepared to negotiate and advocate for your value. We can be so prepared and feel that, right? But there's only so much under our control. So I would love to hear if there's anyone in the group, and I'm going to do a quick check too on comments. So definitely let us know. Is there anyone in the group where you feel like you've done all your homework, right? You have done everything that you could on your end to go and advocate for yourself, and then it just doesn't happen, like something doesn't work through. Let us know, like, what did that feel like? And then what did you do from there forward? Because what I'm hearing from you, Stephanie, is that was kind of like a breaking point for you, right? Like, can you talk a little bit more about that breaking point? Because I think it's really important to unpack that and what that felt like and what it did for you.
Sure. It felt awful. Mm-hmm. Like, that's probably an understatement because I knew the work I was doing and I knew how important it was to the organization. And then I went in there saying, not emotionally, but very matter of fact, logically, this is all that I've done for you. This is all the research I've done. This is what you would have to do. I essentially wrote my job description and I handed it to him along with another job description from LinkedIn. And I said, this is what this person does. This is what I'm doing. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. If I was to leave today, you would need to hire this exact person and this is what would happen. And they were like, no. And I was devastated. I was, and Belma, you know this, I was so mad and I was so ready to quit. And then I thought, I could totally quit. And what would I do? Where would I go? Would I continue to repeat the same patterns I had where I would just end up at another company? What I wanted from that exact moment, that sort of like crushing moment, was to really go deep inside myself and say, okay, this happened. This was humbling. This is not at all the result you were expecting. What do you want then? Like, really, how do I become the driver of my next and every other move after that? And that's really what I wanted to do. I really wanted to take the time to dig deeper and say, I'll know when I'm prepared to take that next step, and I will not undervalue myself ever again. Mm-hmm. And I know in a lot of the coaching, they talk about like bridge jobs. And what I did is I shifted my mindset from that this was a job where they were telling me what my value was to a job that's just bridging me, that's just honestly paying me every week or every 2 weeks to go do what I want to do. I just need to be really resolved on what it is that I want to do. And so now I don't care so much what they think anymore, because my value isn't based on their opinion. I know what I'm good at and I know where I want to go. I'm just for my own path, I'm taking the steps that I think are the right steps for me.
I think that's so important. And I feel like almost if things had worked out in your favor, right, then what could have that looked like on the opposite side of that? Maybe it wouldn't have propelled you to work so deeply on the mindset shift. Because I feel like the mindset shift for you, and I want to talk a little bit more about that, because I feel like that's where I've seen you transform since I met you like several months ago, about a year ago now. So it's almost like an opportunity. Like sometimes that is something coming up for you when I say that.
It was honestly a blessing in disguise. Mm-hmm. It's like one of these bad moments in your life that you're not really sure why it happened. And then you look back and think, thank goodness it happened, because you're absolutely right. I would have stayed and it would have only taken me a couple more months to be like, no, this place still stinks. I don't want to be here anymore. And so now for me personally, it's not the right organization, but that doesn't mean that I'm stuck there. I'm choosing to stay there for different reasons. They don't control the outcome. I do. And this is like you said, such a shift in the way that I had thought any other point before in my career. Like I've never felt so empowered to make the right decision for me than I do right now.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit more. We hit on this when we were speaking on the phone last week. We talked a little bit about being on autopilot and how when we end up in certain careers or certain work situations, we're kind of on autopilot, right? Like we're going through the motions. We feel like we're checking off the right boxes and we don't really stop and think about what it means, where we're headed, right? Can you share a little bit about that? Like, did you ever feel like that? I think up until you hit this breaking point, did you feel like you were on autopilot?
Absolutely. My career kind of was led in this, if you imagine like a string being pulled and your sweater like starting to unravel, like it was always just like pulling in different directions. And to me, it didn't really seem logical. Even though I'm a CPA, I had no aspirations of becoming a CFO or a CEO. So then it was this question, well, where am I going? What am I doing? So it was just kind of like, oh, here's a job that would hire me in Tennessee. It sounds interesting. I'll go there. I don't like that. So I know someone in Chicago that wants to hire me, so I'll go there. Oh, they want to send me back to DC. Okay, I'll go there. Oh, I know someone in New Jersey. They want me to go there. It was honestly like wherever someone was saying they wanted me, I would go. It was never me saying, I want this, so I'm going to go. Mm-hmm. So it was complete autopilot. And it's because I didn't have an idea of what I could do with all these skills I had been creating, because backing it up, sometimes we do things just because we think we should. Like if I go back to college and I said, I'm going to be an accountant, I would never say that again. And I definitely would never say, oh, I want to become a CPA. No one wants to, well, maybe someone wants to be a CPA, but I definitely didn't want to be a CPA. Right. And I tortured myself going through this exam that I knew I was never going to use. Mm-hmm. So I think I would make smarter decisions. And that's sort of like what I'm working at right now. Like, okay, I'm not 18 anymore, but I'm not 9,000. So like I can still have this opportunity to say, okay, what do I want to do? If I don't want to be an accountant and I don't want to be a CPA, what do I want to do? And where does that look like?
Yeah. So
I'm not allowing myself to be on autopilot anymore, because it absolutely does not feel right. Like there's no way I could jump out of this organization into another organization doing the exact same thing that I'm doing right now.
No, you would never. I don't see you ever doing that. I
No.
feel like you know way too much now.
Yeah.
And I want to say hi to Amanda real quick, who's watching. So Amanda said that shift is so powerful, which is so true. And I'd love to talk a little bit more about the mindset and how that's been transformative for you. And I also love that you said, like, when you were going through the program, like, you needed to pause at week 6. I think one thing that I've noticed as students go through the program, or whether you're doing one-on-one work, it's like there's this level of pressure that we put on ourselves. But what I loved so much about what you did was really tuning into what you needed at that moment and honoring that space and saying, like, I need to slow down. I need to do some more deeper work. If my transition is going to be sustainable, I need to do some more thinking and feeling around this experience, around what feels right. Everything that we uncover too, because I feel like the first half of the program can feel so intense because we're digging really deep into past experiences that we haven't thought about for a really long time, and it can feel really triggering. So I really admire you for pausing, because you were listening to what you needed, and then you picked it back up again when you were ready.
Mm-hmm.
So can you share a little bit about what that mindset shift looks like for you? And you've already covered it a little bit through this call, but just in terms of like what you're feeling now, in terms of what's possible for you, one, and then two, I want to talk about what you've been able to create with the shift that you've experienced.
Sure. So where I am now is this realization that I have a tremendous amount of skills. And they're not always the most attractive skills that maybe everyone wants. Like, I'm really organized, I'm really detailed, I'm the person that kind of keeps everyone on point, but that's who I am. And I thought for a long time, well, I don't want to do project management anymore. I want to do something completely different, and I want it to be for an amazing cause, whatever that is. And then it dawned on me. I was like, well, maybe I could help an amazing cause get off the ground, right? Like an organization that has an aligned interest that I have, that's having trouble because they're so focused on their mission that they don't know how to actually get off the ground. And I was like, oh, there you go. That wouldn't be so bad. So then I started thinking, well, what does that look like? And it's definitely not anything in the finance industry, which is really nice. I've dedicated 16 years to that. I am not going to spend another 16 years in it. It did really great things for me, and I learned some really amazing skills. Mm-hmm. But it's not where I am. So now it's a little bit, my challenge is to find these organizations that need this level of help that also have the same interests that I do. The mind shift has also allowed me, one, to stop giving so much energy up to an organization that I don't feel part of. So I show up, I do my job every day. I do it to the level that I would want to do it at, because I'm a respectful, hardworking person. Like, I'm not going to just show up and not do anything. That's not who I am. So I go in there, I do my job. The client is always satisfied. But when I leave, I leave. There's no more of me given to that job. And I try when I'm there to not harp on the fact that I'm still there, because now I'm starting to see that the ball is rolling, and I might have a little bit more work that I need to do to find that next role, because I'm shifting into something new. My skills are completely transferable, but I've got to now convince my value in a different way to an organization that says, hey, you're just starting up, but I really love your mission. You should let me help you get there. So that's where I am now. That's on the professional job front. As some of you might know, on the personal side, I'm completely infatuated with my dog. And it wasn't my idea. I wish it was. And I wish it was an idea that would have come up during Work Bigger, but it wasn't. And I don't think it was my idea to have during that program. I think that program did so many other things for me. But my partner and I, he read one book, had a million thoughts, and one of those thoughts is now launching off the ground, and it's called Dogs on the Run. We're both runners. We have met an amazing group of people and their dogs, Amanda being one of them. It's a great community of people. If you've never, just go rent a dog for a weekend. You'll see. Everyone will talk to you. It's just a really nice group of people. So what we did is we were able to marry those two together, and we're now hosting or co-sponsoring a 1.5 mile race where humans and their dogs on Mother's Day as part of our local running club's annual 5 mile Mother's Day race. So in a couple of weeks, Dogs on the Run, which is we're applying for nonprofit status. Our mission will be to provide physical wellness to pets, dogs specifically, and their humans. And all the proceeds that we get from any endeavor we do, any event that we promote, or if you say, I just need my dog to be run and we get revenue that way, all of our proceeds are going to go to a dog that cannot get the medical care that they need through any other avenue. So like insurance or whatnot. We're part of a great organization that takes in a lot of high medical need senior dogs. So people who have discarded their pets because of years of neglect, they just don't have the wherewithal to actually take care of these dogs anymore. So they just put them into shelters and assume something will happen to them. These are dogs that need wheelchairs, surgeries, rehab, anything like that. So now our mission is to take the love of running that we have and the love that I have for my dog and to really pay it forward and allow every dog to sort of live out their days in the best health possible.
Oh, I have the chills hearing you talk about it. It's so amazing. And it's funny that you mentioned, like, this didn't really come up during the program, but I remember seeing all of your posts. And I think, yeah, Amanda, and I love that you guys have connected to Amanda's commenting. Thanks, Amanda. Hi. I remember seeing all of your posts and like your passion and like your love for your dog is so obvious and clear. And you're right. Like we didn't talk about it. But one thing that came up on the phone when you and I were speaking was this thing of like, what happens when you follow your interest and how, oh, and there she is. Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about that? I know we only have I think we're like up on our time. Do you have like 2 more minutes?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It was, again, that whole working through the layers and the mind shift.
Yeah.
This didn't come up during Work Bigger because I was so focused on, I'm a project manager in finance.
Yeah.
That's who I am. Like there was no way for me to open up my mind and be like, I could be so much more. I could take all of these skills and I could apply it to the one thing that really brings me a lot of joy. And what would that look like? So it might be hard to say that I can make a sustained living doing this, but what came out is as we were working through what does Dogs on the Run look like, we started out, well, maybe it could be like side money to like just something small on the side, not a lot of income, but we do it. And then a series of events happened where we thought, we don't need this. I can get a job doing something else. This one venture itself has to be a nonprofit. It has to be all proceeds going to other dogs. Like end of story. Like this isn't going to be my money-making career right now, but I'm getting so much more value out of it that like that didn't even matter anymore. I'm focused on finding a job that will pay the bills, but this mission here literally fulfills my soul. And I don't think that as I was going through the Work Bigger program, I was getting that. Like I wasn't getting that I don't have to just have the next job, that it has to look like this, that it could be so many more things. And it's just taking me all this time to kind of stop being so like in a tunnel vision that it has to look like this. It really has allowed me, as you said, the mind shift to open up and say, it could be a lot more.
Yeah, really stepping back and seeing what's possible. And even like hearing you talk now, I'm like, yeah, so you're creating a nonprofit and it just happened. It happened because you followed something that really aligned with you, really resonated with you. It came from such a deep place of joy. So whether that's like your 9 to 5, it's a side hustle, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. Like I see it in your face and the value that it's bringing you and where that could lead. It's still TBD.
Yeah.
Right. We don't know. Literally anything is possible. And you've opened that door.
Right.
So.
Yeah. We have no idea.
Yeah. I love it. So we can wrap up now because I know we're up on our time. Is there, I guess, if you had to give 1 or 2 pieces of advice or guidance to the other women in the community who are feeling stuck or frustrated or really over their jobs and just, they just need some inspiration, like what would you say to them?
Probably the same advice that you and Avery and Lisa gave me every time I felt stuck is that's okay. And I think you really need to explore that. If you're feeling stuck, you need to stop and you need to explore every aspect of what it means to, quote, be stuck. It's not just you're not making forward momentum, but like, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? What is this really bringing up? And giving yourself sort of that time and space to work through it, because that roadblock's there for a reason. It's not a wall to bypass. It's sort of a wall to break through, but you can't do it if you're not pushing forward. You just have to kind of keep at it and really be compassionate with yourself, because I know when I was watching all the amazing women that I was going through my program with, they seemed to like really be getting it and moving forward. And I kept thinking, why am I not? And then I thought, because it's not my journey. My journey was to stop and to pause and to really think through it. And, 6 months later, look back, these same amazing women that were moving forward and are still moving forward are my support group. They're the same women that are, when I need help, they're like, yep, we're right there. What do you need help with? And talk and work through problems and any issues, anywhere else I'm feeling stuck. So it wasn't that I wasn't moving as fast as them. I was just moving on my own path and they were moving on theirs, but we were all moving together. So my advice would be don't give up on that. Just let yourself experience it, because if you're like me, 6 months from now, you'll look back and you'll kind of laugh and be thankful that you hit that roadblock.
Yeah. You're amazing. Thank you so much, Stephanie. And plus, it honestly just makes my day when I hear about like the Work Bigger community coming together, because that's why we're here and that's why this exists. I think there's so much strength in relying on each other and sharing these stories and facing these roadblocks rather than burying them deep down. I think it's just what we're used to doing.
Yeah.
We're not like sitting with our really difficult feelings and what comes up around that. It's not always supported. And I think that is very damaging, because like years pass by and we haven't stopped to look at really like what's happening. So I think it's so important that you're sharing this message. My hope is that we can all approach specific roadblocks that way so we can make progress and really deal with what's happening. And then coming together as a community and relying on each other, because that's why we're here. And the last thing I'll say is I would absolutely love for you to share your nonprofit work and your dog. And I know the other women in the group would love it too. We have so many animal lovers. So keep us posted on your events and everything you're doing there, because we'd love to support you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Yeah. And if you're in Hoboken or in the area, I know Amanda knows about this, but again, we're having our running of the dogs right after the 5-mile race. So at 10:30 in the morning on Mother's Day, you and your dog come out. It's a walk run. You do not need to run it. Take in the beautiful New York skylines, 1.5 miles, then you can go to brunch, but it's a great way for you to, again, really just meet fellow community members that have the same love and interest of dogs as we do.
Yeah. And it's stunning. The Hoboken, pier is like so beautiful. So you'll love it.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much again, ladies, for joining. If anyone has any follow-up questions, just comment on here or, feel free to reach out to us. But again, thank you. And thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you so much, Velma. Thank you everyone for listening as well. It's been great.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.